Hello everyone, welcome to the ITLS Academy. Today we are going to discuss the topic related to the food safety officer. Today we are going to discuss the introductive part of the food safety officer, in which we are going to discuss about two topics. One is your definition of the food safety. One is your definition of the food safety, and second is your characterization of the food hazard. This is your first topic, and the second topic is characterization of the food hazard. Now, before starting off these topic, characterization of the food hazard. Now, before going to discuss these topics, we are going to discuss some basic terms related to the food safety. So first of all, we are going to see the introductive part of this slide, that is body. We all know that our body requires nutrients for their growth, survival and development. So our body requires these nutrients for their growth, survival, development and to perform a normal function. To perform a normal function. What does that mean? To perform a normal function means that suppose if we want to study, so for study we require energy, and this energy will get from where? From food, and food give nutrients. Okay, so in short, our body requires different type of nutrients to perform the normal function, survival, growth and development. As I discussed earlier, that food is the main source of the nutrients. Where we got the nutrients? We got the nutrients from the food, and balanced nutrition is a prerequisite for a healthy and productive nation. See, nutrients is required, but this nutrients is required in the form of balanced diet. Okay, if we don't consume these nutrients in a balanced form, then it will cause disease in our body. That's why balanced nutrition is a prerequisite for a healthy and productive nation. Now, how we achieve these balanced nutrition? So, we achieve these balanced nutrition through a promotion of appropriate food selection, preparation and dietary practice. First of all, what we have to do? We have to select the proper food. Okay? Proper food for the balanced nutrition. Now, after the selection of the proper food, we have to prepare food in that manner that it cannot contain any type of hazard. How we detect this, we will be discussed later. Now come to the next slide. Next slide is have some definition like what is nutrition, what is food. So first of all, we are going to discuss that what does the nutrition word means. See, nutrition is nothing, it is a form of food that is required by our body to perform our normal function. So this is the process by which the body acquires and uses food. Food is uses in the form of nutrition, and it involves some procedure like ingestion, digestion, absorption and utilization of the food. Suppose you consume food. Okay, now food have different nutrients like carbohydrates, fat, vitamins, proteins and minerals. Now what happened? This food, when we ingest this food, this food is digested in the form of carbohydrate, fat, vitamin, protein and minerals. After that, suppose this carbohydrate absorb, and after absorption, this carbohydrate give the energy. So this is basic definition of the nutrition. Now food is what? Food is nothing that we eat or that we drink, and they help us our growth. This is called what? This is called food. Anything eaten or drunk that promote growth, protect the body against a disease. See, this is what? Protect the body against the disease, provide the body with energy, maintain the body process, and may come from plants or animal. Food is anything. Food is come from the plant, and it is called vegetarian. When it comes from the animal, it is called non-vegetarian. Okay. So this is about the nutrition and food. Now come to the next topic, that is nutrients and diet. So nutrients is what? When we consume the food, okay, when we consume the food, and they promote our growth and protect the body against the disease, and this food have a substance called nutrients, and it provide body with energy and maintain the body process. Suppose if you want to walk, so for walk you require nutrition, because nutrition give you energy. When you have energy, then you will walk. So this is the concept of the nutrients. Now diet. What is diet? When we take a food or a drink, suppose some food and a drink eaten by an individual or a group of people at a given time, this is called its diet. Suppose in a whole day you take a 3 times meal and 10 times water, then this is your diet. As we say that na, my diet is only like we take a food only for 2 times. Someone take a food 3 times. That this is his or her diet. Now nutrients are divided into 2 parts. Okay. One is your macronutrients and one is your micronutrients. Macronutrients are required in a large amount. Our body requires this macronutrients in a large amount, and micronutrients are required in a small amount, but they have a role. If we have a deficiency of this micronutrients, then it will lead to the disease. Okay. So here first of all we are going to see that this macronutrients are divided into 3 parts. One is your carbohydrate, fat and proteins, and micronutrients are divided into 2 categories. One is your vitamins and one is your minerals. Now suppose we have a deficiency of calcium. Okay, then what happened? It converted into a disease, like our bone become weak. Okay, so what we have to do, we take a supplement for this calcium to fulfill our calcium demand. Same if we have a deficiency of the vitamins, it will also have rise to disease. Now vitamins are also have many types like A, D, E, K, B. Okay. Some are water soluble and some are fat soluble. Now this is about food. This is about nutrients and food. Now we are going to discuss our topic, like what is the definition of this food safety. If we say that, if we discuss about food safety, then first of all we have to know that what does this word means. See, food safety is not like that ki if we have to save a food in a particular stage. No, we have to save the food from the farmer till it reaches to the consumer. Okay, till it reaches to the consumer. This is the simple definition of the food safety. Food safety is described in the process like your handling, preparation, storage, serving. Okay. Now what does this word mean? Suppose we have to prepare a food like paneer. Now paneer is made up of obviously milk. Milk is come from industries. How does industries get milk? They get from the cow milkman, or you can say that milkman. So we have to ensure that this milkman serve us safe milk to us. Okay. If this milkman does not serve the same food to us, then definitely the quality of the paneer degraded. Now first safety will be from the milkman side. How they milking the milk, how they reach this milk to the industries, how this industry process the milk, how this milk is converted into a paneer, and how this paneer packed and reaches to the seller, and how this seller store this paneer. Okay, because paneer is stored at a low temperature. If we are not store it at a low temperature, then the quality of the paneer will degrade. Then it is also important that the storage temperature of the food. Then after that it reaches to the consumer. So whole thing at each and every point when we ensure the safety of the food, then it is called a food safety. Now of food in way that prevent a foodborne illness. Because what does that word means? Foodborne illness, the disease caused by a food or a water. Okay, the disease caused by a food or a water is called foodborne illness. Okay, suppose if we consume a food like this paneer, we all know that the storage temperature of the paneer will be minus 18 degrees Celsius. Okay, so if it is not consumed, if it is not stored, sorry, it is not minus 18 degrees Celsius, it is 0 to 5 degrees Celsius. We hold the paneer at 0 to 5 degrees Celsius or minus 18 degrees Celsius. Okay, it depends upon the storage, how much time you have to store. If you have to store in a long time, then you have to store at minus 18 degrees Celsius, and if you have to store at shorter time, then you have to store the paneer at 0 to 5 degrees Celsius. Now we are going to take this example. Suppose you are not kept the paneer at this temperature. Now what happened? There are the growth of the microorganism take place. Now this microorganism spoil this paneer, and these microorganisms are very small and it cannot be seen by our naked eye. So we are thinking that this paneer are good for the consumer because expiry date is not reached. That's why, but we are not hold this temperature. Now when the consumer consume this paneer, then in that person foodborne illness take place. So every time we don't see the expiry date. Sometimes the expiry date are there, the food are not expired, but due to its storage condition or due to its handling condition, it will be spoiled. Now this include a number of routine that should be followed to avoid a potentially severe health hazard that we are going to discuss. Now why we study food safety? What is the main purpose of the study of this food safety? Now first thing is that we have to maintain our guest safety or our consumer safety. This is our first aim, because our food is taken by our guest or our consumer. Then their safety have our first priority. And the second is that to avoid the loss of the business. Suppose if we don't maintain the food safety, then what happen? It ultimately lead to the loss in our business. Like in case of Maggi, okay, when the lead is found in the Maggi packet, then what happened? Whole production of the Maggi is stopped. So the Nestle faces the loss. So if we maintain this food safety, we avoid the loss of business. To avoid the lawsuits, obviously if the food safety is not maintained, it will affect the health of the consumer, health of our guest. Ultimately what they do, they take an action against us. To maintain the guest trust, to maintain the quality standard. See, these all points are interconnected to each other. If we maintain the guest safety, then we don't have any loss of the business, we don't have to face any law related to the related to the food, and we also get the guest trust, and we also maintain our quality standard, that we promise that we are giving the food which are safe for the consumers. So it will be maintained. It is called a quality standards. Now food contamination. What does this word mean? Food contamination. See, food contamination is nothing, it is simply anything which spoil the food, or it is not the part of the food but it added into a food intentionally or non-intentionally. Sometimes food contamination is take place unintentionally. Okay, so but what happened? It is not a part of the food. That's why it is called a food contamination. Now see the definition of the food contamination. Food contamination refers to the food that are spoiled or tainted because they either contain microorganisms like your bacteria or parasite, or sometimes it also contains toxic substances that make the food not fit for the consumption. Okay. Now what does this word mean, toxic substances? Toxic substances like suppose sometimes the bacteria. Now we are talking microorganisms. Microorganisms, sometimes microorganisms spoil the food in the form of releasing the toxic material into a food. And this toxic material spoil the food. Or sometimes some chemicals also spoil the food. Okay, so this is called what? Food contamination. Now see the different cause of the food contamination, or you can say that different form of the food contamination. Food are contaminated by physical contamination, chemical See, this microbiological and biological are considered as same microbiological. And the last one is your that we study now, that is allergens. Okay, so we have four forms. One is your physical, one is your chemical, one is your microbiological, and one is your allergen. Now, what is this physical hazard? See, physical hazard are both, physical contamination. This physical contamination is always seen by our naked eye. Okay, this is seen by our eye. The best example of the physical contamination is your hair, because this is the common physical hazard which we can see in the food. Okay. Now, objects that get into a food during a preparation or a serving. Okay. What is physical contamination? Sometimes we serve the food, or sometimes we prepare the food. That time it will get into the food. Sometimes it is the part of the equipment. Sometimes it is a part of the damaged utensils, and sometimes it is a part of the cleaning brush. Okay. So in short, it can seen by our eyes. Okay. So for this here, what we have to do, when we prepare a food, we wear a hair net. Okay. This hair net prevent the contamination of hair. Now, how we prevent this physical contamination? If the contamination occurred, then their prevention is also performed by our side. The first is that we have to wear this hair net. Okay, and we have to wear a long sleeves uniform. Okay. If you see the chefs, or if you see any video related to the food preparation, you see that that particular person who are preparing the food, they have prepared the uniform which have a full sleeves, and they also wear a hair net, gloves. So this is all things that prevent that the physical contamination. Jacket pocket always empty. We are not put anything in our jacket pocket when we are preparing the food. Clean environment, close window and door to avoid the dust from the outside. The environment where we prepare the food is always clean, and the windows and the doors which are present in that environment have always closed, so that they avoid the dust from the outside. Equipment which are used in the preparation of the food, they are well maintained. Okay, we have to check their screws and their plastic accessory, that if it is damaged, it will be changed. Avoid the uses of a deteriorated utensil. Sometimes what chefs do, they uses the deteriorated utensils, and when they uses the deteriorated utensil, the part of the utensil come to the food, and it will cause a physical contamination. Ceiling and wall are well maintained. So this is the prevention method of the physical contamination. Now the next is your what? Next is your chemical hazard. Chemical contamination. Chemical contamination are those contamination which is caused by a chemical. Okay, since this chemical may be intentionally added, or sometimes it is unintentionally. How we can say that they are intentionally added? In case of your pesticides and your food preservatives. So there are a amount food preservative. See, pesticide is used to kill the pest. We all know that. Kill the pest. And this food preservative is added into a food to increase its shelf life. But these pesticide and these food preservative are added into a food in a particular amount. If the amount are increases from that particular amount, then it become a contamination. So that's why it is intentionally added. Like water. Okay, what we do? We add this water in not we do, what milkman do. Milkman added the water intentionally into the food so that the quality of the milk decreases and quantity of the milk increases. So this is the what? This is contamination. Detergent. These detergents are sometimes, obviously they are not added intentionally, but what they do, suppose this is your cleaning procedure or cleaning material. We are put this cleaning material near to the food. Okay. Now what happens? This cleaning material contaminate that food product sometime. Now if the contamination occurs, then we have to take a prevention method also. Now what is the prevention method for this? So how we prevent the chemical contamination? Designated a suitable area away from food to store the detergent. Like we have a separate area for the storage of the cleaning material so that it will not mix to the food. We have to label that detergent with name and uses. Okay. Sometimes some chemicals like your soba tab, this is used to decontamination of the vegetables and fruit. Okay. Decontamination of vegetables and fruits. Now what happened? We have to label this soma tab and their uses and some other material also. Rinse with water, utensil and equipment after using detergent. When we wash the equipment with the detergent, after that we have to rinse that particular utensil with the water. White vinegar is ideal to remove the detergent. So if we wash the utensil with the detergent, then at that time what we have to do, we have to use a white vinegar to remove the detergent. Do not mix between the food container and a cleaning container. Always check the water you are using. Regularly check the filtering system. We have to check that water that we are using, because if the water is contaminated, then everything will also be contaminated. Regularly check the ventilation system. Cover the food when you are using the pesticides, sanitize everything afterwards. Suppose what happened, this is your preparation table. Here you put a food and now what you are going to do, you are sanitize this area. Now when you are sanitizing this area, you have to remove this from that area, or you have to cover that food product properly so that the sanitizer that not enter into the food. Now biological and microbiological. First we are going to discuss biological. Biological contamination are those which are caused by a poisonous insect, flies, anything. This is called what? This is called your biological hazard. Now see, this biological contamination are those contamination which is caused by a poisonous insect or a poisonous fly. Several insects may transfer food poisoning bacteria into a food. Now flies often land on animals factors where they pick up a large number of bacteria on their hairy body. That's why I said to you that biological and microbiological contamination are same, because here what we are see, the contamination is caused by the particular bacteria. In addition, they poke and vomit previous meals back onto the food as they feed. Cockroaches often live in a sewer and commonly feed an infected waste. They hide in a most difficult to reach place in a food room. What they do, they hide themselves in that area where we are not reach. How we prevent that biological contamination? For that purpose, what we have to do, we have to clean and sanitize the working area at least once in a day. And we have to make a checklist for this. Clean the unreachable places like your corners, because the insects are mostly live in that corner. So what we have to do, we have to clean that unreachable places. Maintain the wall, ceiling and floor to be free from holes. If holes are present, then in that hole the insect and the cockroaches are live. Make sure that grain, sugar, flour are free from any sort of pest. Regular pest control check. Efficient air curtain on door. Fly killer machine. Covered food. When you are preparing any food, you have to cover the food material. Now microbiological contamination. Microbiological contamination are those contamination which are caused by a microorganisms. Okay. We have a microbiological contamination when we add contaminated raw material or when we have an improper handling. What does this improper handling means? That, for example, we are not allowed to put our food at room temperature for 2 hours. Okay, this is one example of improper handling, because the growth of the microorganism take place. See, we have to put the, suppose this is the food, either low temperature, that is between 0 to 5 degrees Celsius or below, or we have to put the food at high temperature, that is more than 63 degrees Celsius. Okay. For example, bacteria, viruses, fungus, parasite, protozoa. As mentioned before, in the personal hygiene, microgerms, bacteria are present everywhere. It is in the air, soil, water and in plants and animals, including us. We all know that this microorganisms are present everywhere, and we are not able to see that microorganisms, and they are present in like your soil, like in your water. So their control are very important. That's why we are not putting the food at room temperature. When we put the food at low temperature, that is 0 to 5 degrees Celsius, this microorganism go into a sleeping condition. They are not killed, but they are go into a sleeping condition, which means that if in a particular food 50 microorganisms are present, then their number will not decrease it, not increases. They remain 50. And this 50 microorganisms also become inactive. That means that they are not capable to cause any disease. But when we put these food material at a high temperature, that is more than 63 degrees Celsius, then it started killing the microorganism. or if we put the food at a room temperature for 2 hours, then it will spoil the food. So in a food there is a term called danger zone, that which means that we are not put the food between 5 to 63 degrees Celsius for 2 hours to avoid the spoilage of the food. Now, how this how this bacteria reproduce? For the reproduction of the bacteria, we require fat term. F for food, A for acidity, T for temperature, T for time, O for oxygen, M for moisture. If we avoid any one of these, then the reproduction of the bacteria does not take place, or a growth of the bacteria does not take place. Now if we see the food part, bacteria require a high protein, high carbohydrate food source like your meat, seafood, poultry, cooked, plant food, back, potato, pasta, rice. Food, if we talk about the acidity, food that are acidic or slightly neutral. Bacteria can not typically grow in highly acidic condition. Now if we see the temperature, then bacteria rapidly reproduce between the 50 to 63 degrees Celsius. Okay, this is called what? This is called danger zone. Given enough time in a danger zone range, this enough time is what? This is your 2 hours. Bacteria will start repeatedly reproducing. The maximum time is 2 hours. There are certain bacteria that require oxygen to reproduce, and we call it aerobic bacteria. See, the bacteria are of two types. One is your aerobic and one is your anaerobic. Aerobic bacteria, what they require? Oxygen. Okay. And anaerobic bacteria are those that not require oxygen. Now moisture bacteria require moist food to reproduce. That's why if we take an example of wheat flour, bread and milk. So wheat flour have a moisture contain 13 to 14%, and bread have 30 to 35%, and milk have 88%. So in these three, this milk will spoil first because they have a high moisture content, and bacteria required a moist food to reproduce. Now if we talk about the temperature versus bacteria, how at which temperature the growth of the bacteria are high and when it will become low. See, this is between the 5 to 63 degrees Celsius. Okay, this is a danger zone. We are not put the food at that zone. Food handle quickly in this range. If we put the food at this range, then we have to handle this quickly. Now 0 to 5 degrees Celsius, cold food must be held in this range. Okay, like your milk, curd. Okay, now we have to put the food below the minus 18 to minus 22 degrees Celsius. This is a frozen zone. In that zone, what we do? We put the food like your ice creams, your khoya, paneer. Okay. Now between 0 to 5 degrees Celsius, there are no growth of microorganism. Okay, and between minus 18 to minus 22 degrees Celsius also there is a no growth of the microorganism. Now above 5 to 63 degrees Celsius, This is a bacteria grow rapidly, and when it reaches to the 37 degrees Celsius, then it will grow very fast, because for the growth of the bacteria we require this temperature. Now when we increase the temperature, then bacteria will be die. Like suppose if we increase the temperature more than 63 degrees Celsius, then due to the high temperature it will be killed. The time required to kill the bacteria depend on the temperature and time. The higher the temperature or the longer the time, the greater the destruction. This is the combination of the temperature or the bacteria. Now there are some food that are potentially hazardous food. That means that it will spoil easily. Hazardous food means that it will easily. Like why they spoil easily? Because they have higher moisture content. Mostly they have higher moisture content. Like your beef, poultry, pork, grapes, soup, meat or fish stuffing, finfish, shellfish, raw fish, dairy products, eggs, cream, filled, pastries, custard, vegetables like your cooked, raw, sprouts, cabbage, starchy food like grain, rice, potato. That's why we are put all these food either at a low temperature or either at a high temperature. For storage, what we have to do, we put that food at a low temperature, and for the preparation of the food, we are put that food at a high temperature. Now, critical control point. This is a part of the HACCP that we are discuss later, but here what we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss the critical control points. So we have to maintain this critical control point during purchasing, receiving, storage, preparing, cooking, serving and holding, cooling and reheating. So first of all, we are going to discuss the purchasing. So for purchasing, first of all, we have to buy the product from a trustful supplier. Okay, that fulfill the compliance with the food safety standard. The supplier must have a certificate of FSSAI. See, in India, the body that govern the law related to or everything related to the food is FSSAI. So if you are purchasing the food from a supplier, then you have to check their FSSAI license. Okay, then you have to train your employee that how they purchase or how they order the food product, what the quality that you have to check during the purchasing, safe and sanitary packaging, delivery during a slow time, supplier facility like especially for meat, poultry and fish. This is the how they supply this product, transportation and temperature control delivery. Suppose someone delivered the this product and they are delivering at 37 degrees Celsius. So when you are receiving, it is not good for the purchase. Place your order according to your consumption, taking into a consideration the product shelf life. See, when you are ordering something, then you have to assure that what is the rate of the consumption. Like milk. Okay, milk have 48 hours shelf life or 2 days shelf life. So you have to order your product considering this shelf life. The product that have high shelf life, then you have to order it in a bulk. But the product that have a shorter shelf life, this should be ordered according to your need. Now receiving. After purchasing, the second critical control point is the receiving, and this is the department of the receiving. We have to check the supply upon receipt, like sign of the spoilage, color, odor, texture, slim, mold, dirt, insect, soiling, rusted, wet container, quality, temperature, general condition. They are seen by our naked eye. Now arrange delivery for off-peak hour, like when the person which are receiving the food are free, that time we have to arrange the delivery, so that when they are receiving the product, they have no time limit. Plan ahead to ensure sufficient storage space. Transfer the proper storage promptly. Clean and transport cart. Cart means that in which we receive the food product, they should be a clean. Date food, like when it is arrived, what is the use by date, what is the expiry of the vegetable, it should be clearly checked by the receiver. Remove the external packaging, like curtain or dirty crates. It will not allow inside the premises. Suppose egg. The egg are received in the carrot. Okay. Now this carrot will be changed from the premises carrot. Okay, it is not allowed to enter inside the premises. And place the product in a clean crates for vegetable after cleaning and sanitizer. When we receive the vegetable and fruits in a receiving area, what we have to do, we clean the vegetable, and after cleaning we sanitize the vegetables or a fruit. This sanitization is take place with the help of the Soma tab. After cleaning and sanitization, we store or place this vegetable or a fruit in a clean carrots, and this carrot, the color of the carrot should be green. This is very important, because the meat are stored in a red carrot and the vegetable are stored in a green carrot. Now this is your some food storage thing, like when you are receiving like this type of cane, if there, then you have to avoid the receiving of this type of cane. Suppose this is your this should be mentioned, like storage temperature below 30 degrees Celsius, MFG date 20 May, expiry date 20 May 2015, this is 2010, and lot number. And one more thing, that is labeling should be mentioned, that we discuss in the later classes in the topic of food packaging. Now storing. After receiving, what we have to do, we have to store the food. So first of all, we are going to see that dry storage. Now dry storage means that the product which are stored at normal temperature, that area is called our dry storage. They are clean, orderly, and item 15 centimeter of floor. We are not store the food in the floor. We have to use our racks, and these racks are 50 centimeter of the floor and away from the wall. Good ventilation, 10 to 40 degrees Celsius temperature. First in, first out should be followed. This is very important. FIFO should be followed. And how they will be checked? This is the duty of the food safety officer to check all these things, that FIFO is following or not. Dating packages, place new to rare, clean spills promptly, tracks kept out of the room, segregate cleaning supply, avoid contamination. Pest control should be done properly, like at least once in a day. And you have to check the humidity. If the humidity is high, then it also will spoil the food product. See, this is the storage condition. We store the food at rack. This is your device which show you the time and temperature. Okay, see here the product are stored near the wall, it should also be avoided. Here the curtains are present, curtains should also be avoided. FIFO method should be followed, first in first out. Now the second storing is for a refrigerated storage. Refrigerated storage is for the refrigerated food like below the 5 degrees Celsius. Okay, this is for cold food. Overloading not allow. Allow for air transfer. Date should be mentioned in item. Properly sealed. Raw, uncooked, on bottom, away from ready to eat food. See, the ready to eat in a refrigerated condition. First of all, we have to differentiate the veg and non-veg. Non-veg item should be stored in separate refrigerator and veg item should be stored in a separate item. Now if we take an example of a non-veg food, then the raw food should be kept below the rack, and then after that semi-cooked, then cooked. This is the storage condition for the food product. See, here you can see that this is the improper way for the storage of the food, because the raw food are kept in a above rack, and this is a proper storage condition in which the food are stored and marking are done. See, if you see that this is a product, here it is the name of the product are written and the date and the shelf life is also written. Now freezer condition. Freezer condition, we store the food product that should be a frozen, and it should be stored at -18 degrees Celsius or below. And it should be immediately stored when they are received. Sorted shelf, use moisture proof container wrapping, avoid multiple entries, segregate large warm container into a smaller one, and the remaining are same as a cooling temperature. Now preparation and food handling. We have to avoid the cross contamination. Cross contamination means that the contamination of the food take place from other source, like from your clothes, from your hand, from your surfaces, from your equipments. Now food contamination is one of the most common cause of food poisoning. It happens only when harmful germs are separated into food from other food surfaces, hands and equipments. Now how to prevent the food cross contamination? See, to avoid the cross contamination, what we have to do, don't let a raw meat, poultry or a unwashed raw vegetable touch other food. We are not allow the person to touch the when they touch a raw meat or unwashed meat, after that they touch a vegetable food. It is not allowed. Never prepare a ready to eat food using a chopping board, utensils or knife that you have to use to prepare a raw meat. See, when you are using the chopping board or a knife for a raw meat or poultry, then it should be not used by a ready to eat food. Clean work top and utensil with hot water. Always wash your hand. Okay. Now always cover a raw meat, raw vegetables as potato, leeks and carrot often have a traces of soil on which they can contaminate the harmful bacteria. Keep dish clothes clean and change them regularly. Avoid preparing food for yourself or other if you are ill, especially with the vomiting. If a person are ill, then they are not allowed to prepare a food. See, this is the color coding for a chopping board. Blue for a seafood, red for a meat, red meat, yellow for a poultry product, white for a cooked food, and green for a fruits and vegetable. Control temperature. Thawing and marinating. Keep food out of the temperature of danger zone that we already discussed. Never thaw on counter. We are not thaw the food in a counter. We always thaw the food in a refrigerated and at a bottom shell or in a running water. Marinate meat, fish in a refrigerator. When we marinate the fish or a meat, then we have to use a refrigerator. See, this is a myth and this is a fact. Refrigerators stop bacterial growth. No, it does not stop the bacterial growth. It is slow down the bacterial growth. It is safe to thaw food on the counter at room temperature. No, we are not thaw the food at a counter, or we have to thaw the food at a refrigerated condition. The fact is that refrigeration slow but does not prevent the bacterial growth. Room temperature thawing expose food to the danger zone. See, this is the bad food handling. Cooking. Food should be cooked above the 75 degrees Celsius. Still food in deep pots frequently. Regulate size, thickness of a food. Validate cooking time, temperature. Check the thickest part of the food. Always use sanitary cooking, serving utensils. Never touch or prepare food with a bare hand. Serving and holding temperature. We have to keep the food at 60 degrees Celsius, cold food at 5 degrees Celsius, and check temperature periodically. And discard the food at when it is held at a danger zone. See, this is your improper handling of the food. Serving. Personal hygiene is required for a serving. This is like handling of raw food, touching unclean surfaces or equipment. Keep hand away from a face, head, or smoking and eating are not allowed. We are not allowed to wear a jewelry when we are serving the food. Utensils should be clean. Don't taste a food with a finger. Always use a spoon, and this spoon should be clean. Cooling. Rapid cooling important, like chill to below 5 degrees Celsius. Reduce the food mass. Shallow the pre-chilled pan. Use ice water bath for quick chill. Thin refrigerated. Still to increase the cooling. Monitor temperature periodically and store the food in a covered container. We have to reheat the food above 75 degrees Celsius within a 2 hours and never reheat more than once. We have to reheat the food only once in a time. Never mix a leftover food and a fresh food. Discard the leftover refrigerated for more than a week. Checklist and procedure. Thank you so much. If you have any query, just let us know that the comment box, and you have to follow the ITLS Academy. Thank you.